Hey, how's it going, Twitter? This second video in one day. Go figure. So, interesting tweet that I sent out a little bit. I was listening to the AWS reInvent keynotes, and one of the things that got to thinking about was all of the technologies I wanted to learn in 2017. So AWS overall is high on the list. And then they got to talking about some automation, and specifically within AWS, there's cloud formation, which is, I think, is a pretty critical orchestration concept to have down just in general. And then they went to talking about a bunch of the new AWS services that they have available. And there's kind of this whole concept of chef for as a service where they go through and start to manage your chef environment for you. So all you're doing is just chef recipes. And then the list goes on and on. I'm working on a deep dive, networking deep dive for AWS. So I want to really understand the concept of VPCs, and not just the concept of VPCs, but what really happens inside of that. That's just on the cloud side. Then from a personal development, and we're still talking about technologies, I'm a Windows guy, so every year on the list there's Linux, and then there's a bunch of stuff under that. There's again Chef for automation and testing, and Puppet. And then there's containers in general. So under containers, the list of things flows from Docker to Kubernetes. That's used to shorthand Cube8S. There's just, that list goes on and on from a pure technology piece that I want to learn. But then I thought about this, and I brought it back up a level. And what is it that ultimately these things lead to? What is it that I want to do in my career? And bottom line is add value to the business. IT is completely shifting. We have our core IT departments within the enterprise. Then we have, parallel to that, this is the traditional view, we have the different BUs. And then in IT, we have our silos. We have network, compute, storage, and so forth. And then in the BUs, we'll have finance, marketing, and let's say sales. But what we're seeing is under these BUs, each one has what? They all have IT. Now, this is something new in the sense that before, there's always been shadow IT. Back in the days of the mainframe, and the PC first started to come out, individual BUs, finance specifically, would go out and buy individual PCs and compute and have shadow IT. As we got into the structure that exists today, where we have enterprise IT, that function moved into a specific place. But let's look at historically what's happened. Basically, the business has said that centralized IT can't move fast enough, so we'll go out and build our own IT, and we'll learn how to use something like an AWS, Google Compute, and Microsoft Azure, or Salesforce, or any one of the SaaS providers directly, and we'll start to consume that. What's happened in turn is that each one of these groups, IT is not just a function, but it's a core piece of what they do. It's how they offer value. So it's just like, back in the mainframe days, the spreadsheet. No one went to IT anymore to generate a spreadsheet or generate a word processing doc. They did it themselves using their own compute resources. We see that happening today. The advantage of that is that each one of these embedded IT teams, no one can think of or use technology better than they can. They know their business better than any outsourcer, better than even internal IT can know the actual business process. So that got me to thinking, what's the best part? If you're an IT professional, if you're an IT infrastructure guy, an application developer, doesn't matter. If you're an IT professional today, where's the best long-term place to sit in the business? Is it inside of corporate IT, which is a commodity for the most part and can be and has been outsourced? Or is the best part of the business to sit in as a IT specialist embedded in finance, marketing, sales, research, R&D, or another word for research, or commercial, some other part of the business that's adding value? If I was to make the bet, I think a better place to sit is in here. So, as I think through my personal training plan for the new year, while a concept like containers, as I perfect my practice and I look at something like containers and container management, that's important. That's important to just know. I need to continue to be a great technologist. But beyond that, how does containers improve credit card processing, for example, or better known as a higher form, electronic payments? How does containers improve the electronic payments discipline, business discipline? That means that I have to get deep learning, or at least a high level learning, of the electronic payments process. So if I was targeting to sit in the electronic payments group of, let's say, a bank or a retailer, I want to learn PCI. What is PCI? How does it relate to electronic payments? And how do I relate that back to containers and application development? Let's take another one. Electronic. What from an industry perspective? What is electronic payments? So what are the major, this concept in PCI and payments, major brands? Those major brands are credit card processors, so MasterCard, Visa, if you're here in the US, Amex, American Express, etc. And what are their standards? What are they looking for from a technology perspective in order to make that process seamless? Then we have the new school ones, the PayPals of the world. What's their business? How do they add value to the end user, to the consumer? And how are they using technology to make themselves competitive against the rest of the industry and the rest of in their market? How does technology impact electronic payments? That's an area I think I can focus on if I worked for an electronic payments company. I'd look to see, okay, one of these major areas, I'd look to see how does technology, embedded technology, improve that overall business process. What is the business process? So 2017, the year of Bi-Modal learning. How do I learn not only something in technology, so I'll perfect what I am already an expert in, but also expand my value by looking at a business process and starting to become an expert in a business process, so that I can transition not from being an IT professional, but to a business professional and understanding the actual value at the end of the day. How do I stop myself from becoming a bookkeeper, which is an extinct type of concept, to being just someone who uses bookkeeping as part of their job? How do I move from being a container expert to being a expert in electronic payments that just happens to use containers as part of my job? That's it for this CTO Advisor. Talk to you guys next CTO Advisor chat.